Sometimes trouble finds you in the most common places. It's up to you to decide when to fight and when to surrender. Unless, of course, there is help from a stranger. Stop the Threat starts now. Hello and welcome to Stop the Threat. My name is James Toll. On this week's episode, we take you to Houston, Texas for a reenactment which we are calling Runaway Purse. But let me introduce you to this week's panel. Lieutenant Dan McCoo, Lieutenant Dan as he's known by most, is a police officer for 33 years and now widely known as a police trainer, and the author of 4 police novels and a soon-to-be-released 5th book entitled Law Dogs, Great Cops in History. Don Gallahue. Don retired as lieutenant after serving 25 years with the Florida Sheriff's Department near Tampa Bay. Don is now a full-time firearms instructor in New Mexico. And Alan Watson. Alan was a supervisor for the Georgia Bureau of Investigation and currently is an investigator for the Sheriff's Department. Welcome all. Listen, I received an email that I want to read because I think they're asking for some help here. And it's a little different, but I'm going to read it to you, quote, unquote, kind of a thing. I went out and bought the best gun I could find. I then went out to the range and found the best instructor I could find. And I learned to shoot and applied for my concealed weapons permit. I keep the gun in a drawer near my bed, but I never wear it outside the house unless I feel like I need to. What am I doing wrong? Kind of a different question, but Don, you want to give me an answer?
If you're going to embrace the concept of being armed in public, then treat it just like Carl Malden did with the American Express money orders or traveler's checks. Don't leave home without it.
Okay, Alan?
I agree. You go out into a situation, well, today I'll carry it, today I won't. Right. You don't know what's going to happen out there.
That's right.
So be prepared.
Okay, LT?
I think he's got a mental idea that if I wear this weapon, I'm looking for trouble. And the fact is, we don't wear weapons because we're looking for trouble. Trouble will find somebody someday. I think he probably has a sense that he couldn't use it. There are a lot of people that carry guns and train with a gun, but either know they couldn't or suspect they couldn't point at another human being and pull the trigger, and I think there's a little of that going on.
I hear that too in the way the email is laid out. I kind of see something behind there that it sounds like he's a little reluctant. He's complying with the law. Mm-hmm. He did everything correct. He went out and he researched a weapon. He went out and he found an instructor which he could work with. Alan?
It's proper mindset. He's got the right mindset of doing the right things to go about having the gun and carrying the gun. He needs to be in the mindset of what he's going to do with that gun outside the home.
He's also, there's an unless here. I can't use a weapon unless someone is about to harm my family.
Yeah,
that's what he's saying.
Yeah, and I kind of like the idea that he doesn't feel like he's really prepared. I mean, even though he's stressing what he's done, I don't have that confident feeling, and I think that's an important. When we come back, though, I'm going to show you part 1, and maybe we'll try to answer that question a little bit more. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back, viewers. You know, when we were off camera, we discussed that email a little bit more, and I think we all had the feeling that the individual was not comfortable with taking the gun outside the house. Quickly, I'm just going to say, make friends with your weapon. Go to the range. Do some drills with an instructor. Become familiar with it. And I think if you do that, you're going to get a little more comfortable with having it, because all of us here at the table sense that you're not comfortable with the gun, but you want one to protect yourself or your family. I think you need to go one more step. Everybody want to agree with that?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
Okay. Before I show you part 1, though, let me give you some facts here. What I have found, This does deal with purse snatching. I looked up and I found that in 2011 there were 23,000, the FBI report says, 23,000 purse snatchings reported. The average amount of money, and this is probably what did surprise me, the average amount of money was just over $400. That's a lot of money. I mean, I guess I don't think about that, but I think it's important. And armed with that information, part one, runaway purse.
I like the look of that one.
All right.
What are you doing? Let go! Let go of the purse, lady. Help! Somebody call the police! No!
Okay, first off, I'm going to say that it's really easy to start out by saying, well, you know, situational awareness. You know, I think that's an easy, low-hanging fruit, pretty much standard shot. Fact of the matter is, the lady gets out of her car, she's walking to the grocery store. How alert are you going to be? All right, this is again common everyday stuff. I mean, I got a grocery list, I know I got to pick that up. You're in the grocery store. I mean, you're heading to a grocery store. Okay, I admit I hear a car behind me. I'm probably going to shift to my right, maybe glance back, but I don't think anything we've seen here is out of the ordinary.
No, not at all. You can't expect everybody to walk around like this in public. Okay,
Right.
people get really squeamish about that if you do that. So this is very common for the woman to be in a position like that. I've actually had one of my civilians, or excuse me, one of the citizens that I've trained has been assaulted exactly like that scenario right there.
Yeah, because I think it's very common.
Yes.
I don't think it's that unusual. LT, what do you think?
Well, I think the common place to really look out, because I think they caught her unawares, is any time you're at an ATM or coming out of a bank. That's the time you want to be aware, because that's
Yes.
usually when they take place. This one kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I think if you were coming out of the bank or were ATM, you'd be, you know, conscious of the fact that you're carrying money, or, you know, so you might be a little more aware. But just rolling out of your car to going, hey, I got to grab something, 2 or 3 things in the item. This is so common that to give someone advice and to say, here's what you should do, here's what you shouldn't do. I mean, it's almost like, what can you say that isn't really just common sense, and that I don't know that we can add anything unless someone's got a great idea.
No, it is so common for somebody to, you know, step out of the car, walk into a store. It's broad daylight, there are people coming and going. There's really nothing to enhance her level of awareness that something is about to happen. You know, you can armchair quarterback it when you see what is happening and say, oh, you could have done this, you could have done that. We do it every day.
Right.
Yes.
You walk in and
Cards and cash in another location, because purses are targeted as they're sitting in chairs and nightclubs and other places. So, and when anyone asks me, I say, just, you got all these things in the purse, that's good. Cards and cash somewhere else.
Yeah, that's good. And I think there's a lot of men actually who I've spoken to who say, you know what, I got $10 in this pocket and I got $400 in this pocket. Okay? And if I'm held up, I'm going to give them the 10 and hope they just go away. Okay? Oh, I understand that. The lady got out of the car. I thought she was smart in the fact that she did kind of look around a little bit.
Yes.
She did have her phone with her. Okay, fine. Couldn't access it at that point, but she had it, and she put it over her shoulder. You know, and if she was swinging it along, we'd all be saying, well, you should have had it over your shoulder.
Or
So
she didn't put it around her neck.
Well, you know, yeah, well, that in this particular case, that might have not been a great idea.
Right.
Because I think what we're going to find here is that maybe even at this point, things get worse. When we come back, I'm going to show you how worse they're going to get. Don't go away. Okay, welcome back, folks. I mean, there's a lot to be said here, and then there's not a lot to be said. I mean, this is an everyday occurrence. I think she was as prepared as anyone would be. But as I said before we left for the break, it continues to get a little bit worse. Let's watch part 2.
What are you doing? Let go! No! Somebody call the police! No! No!
Let go of the
Call
purse.
police! No!
Let go!
No! Give it back!
Got the car!
Let go!
Let go of the purse! Are you all right?
Yes!
Call 911. Get out of the car! Now! Down on the ground, face down, hands apart. Now! Down! Hands apart! Hands apart! Don't move.
Hey! Put the gun down. Put the gun down. Lay down on the ground. You two stay right where you are. You put your hands behind your back. Both of you, hands behind your back.
Okay, it didn't get as bad as you thought, did it? It could have, however.
Yes.
And I think that's probably the way I should have phrased that, was that, okay, now we have an individual who oversees what's taking place, and they inject themselves into the situation. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, do we struggle over the purse, or do we just give the purse up?
I think you have to give the purse up because there could easily have been a gun behind the purse.
Okay, that's certainly one good reason. The other one is I kind of feel like if you don't give that purse up, you may end up getting dragged down the street here because they're not letting go.
Absolutely.
Right?
She
So
could have become entangled in the seatbelt, in the strap of the purse.
the whole
If
thing
this
could have got a
guy
lot worse.
took off,
Yes.
she could have been pulled under the car.
Okay.
Yeah.
LT?
There's nothing in that purse worth dying for.
Okay, and then
Is-
that's well put. That's exactly
You
what.
gotta ask, is this worth dying for?
Right, right. She actually wanted to hold on to that purse. To what point, had the individual not showed up with the handgun, a citizen, a good Samaritan kind of a citizen who sees what's taking place, he's armed, we're going to assume he's trained, he seems to know what he's doing, he's confident about it, he rolls out of his car, he puts the car in park, rolls out of the car, and he's got the driver at gunpoint and tells him to get out of the vehicle. The first question I'm going to ask you is, would we do anything different? I mean, even if you didn't have a law enforcement background and you were armed, would you do anything different?
I want to reinforce something that gentleman did.
Okay.
When the police arrived, he was
gun
what
down.
I tell people on police contacts to be:
Lay down on the ground.
courteous, cooperative, and compliant. And that would have been difficult under those circumstances, but that was his call. I think he saw the lady wrap herself into that purse and was concerned for her safety, and that was a brave gentleman, deserves some sort of award. Not everybody would do that.
Yeah, yeah.
But he did.
I think that is some worthy of some kind of a community, and I think in many communities they might even have,
Right.
made a point of bringing
And
him
I think
forward
that-
on
I
that.
think another point also is taken, again, a little bit of a contrary view, is however, there was no requirement of that person to intervene.
Correct.
He could just as easily have driven away and said, it's not my fight. So although we can applaud what he did, there's no disgrace in driving away also.
No,
if you can live with yourself.
Sure, and he could have taken a license plate down. He could have called 911,
Be a
never
good-
get out of his vehicle.
Be a good witness.
And I don't think there was anything wrong with that move if he chose to do that.
If there had been exchange of gunfire from the car to him, we have our lady in the background
Yes.
Right.
that could have
In the
taken
line
on
of
fire.
fire.
Right. Now
Exactly.
that's a real good point, because if we go one step further and, okay, it is a good Samaritan citizen, and he has the driver at gunpoint, and the driver moves to do something. We don't know if that something is to get a weapon or whatever it is. So I like the idea that, you know, firing around or getting into a gunfight at that point. So I would probably ask the question, when would you not get involved?
I think that you are not the police. No one expects you to do those things. And he went above and beyond what's expected of another citizen to do, even in the apprehension of him. You know, tell her to get away, and then him remove himself. Like you said, he was out in the open. There was no cover there. It was a bad position.
As to the when to do it or not to act, it's such an individual choice, James. You can't really call that for somebody. It's going to depend on each individual situation is going to be different, and each person is
Also,
different on when to act.
We don't know what kind of background this guy has.
That's
It
true.
appears in the segment that he has some type of professional training by the fact of him getting them out of the car, having them lay face down. So we don't know exactly what his background is, and it is an individual call on each person.
The one thing I was concerned about in his grip, he had crossed his thumbs behind the slide, which showed me that he may have seen some police movies somewhere and was doing that okay, but firing that gun would have been a problem.
Let's go back for just a second, though. You know, timing here is almost everything. If that car had moved down and was going away, dragging that woman with him, and there had been people there, and that is not the time to start running rounds down the alleyway.
Absolutely not.
Right? So timing there was absolutely essential. It came together well, and all the reports we had also indicated that. So I think everything went right, and I think everybody was lucky. I think the man with the gun was very lucky that the bad guy in the car did not have a weapon.
Absolutely.
Now you got a gunfight going, and as you pointed out, Alan, people are going to get hurt at that point. No matter how well trained you are, things are going to go wrong.
Right.
When we come back, I'll wrap this up for you, and we'll add a few more comments. Don't go away. Welcome back, viewers. This segment that we're doing, I think, pulls a lot of comments in. Like I said before we left, I think we were talking about a lot of good timing here, and had that car been dragging the woman away, then things would only get worse.
Yes.
So, okay, you're not armed. You see this taking place. What are you going to do? Are you going to jump out of your car and go over there and get in front of that car, or beat on the hood, or what are you going to do?
Take down the license plate, get a description of the people, description of the car, call 911.
Yeah, the only other thing is I yelled to the lady, let
go of the purse.
Yeah, let go of the
Yeah.
purse.
Good advice. Let it go.
In as nice language as you could think
Yes.
of. Yeah, right. I think so too. The other thing might have been, you know, if you're one of those individuals who has a phone that has a camera, you know, kick on the video and take it. I mean, I'm not fond of taking videos necessarily, but maybe so. Another thing that you brought up, Don, though, is law enforcement arrives.
Law enforcement arrives. Now is your second point of jeopardy, because the law enforcement officer doesn't know the players. He's confronted with a man that is armed with a gun, and he's going to take him a few seconds to sort that out, depending on his level of experience. Is he an experienced officer, or is he a rookie that's right out of the FTO program? So it's going to take him a while to sort that out too, and there have been tragedies that have happened during those opening seconds where the Good Samaritan is mistaken for the bad guy and has been shot.
Yeah, no, and I kind of agree with that. Anybody want to add to that?
If I were standing there at gunpoint having somebody down, law enforcement arrives not knowing who I am, put the gun away for the responding officer, so he's not confronted with that immediately when he drives up.
Yeah, I believe that too. Now, if you had come out of the car with the weapon, let's talk about the things that you don't want to do. And they're probably common things. This thing is evolving. The guy in the car is not listening to you. You have the only solution in your hand that you're going to have. The car now is backing away and starting to drag the woman. Are you going to start firing? Are you going to fire a warning shot?
No.
Let's take that off the table right now. There's no warning shots.
No warning shots.
Are you going to shoot the tires of the car?
No, it's still risky.
No. Well, who's going to do that? Nobody. Okay. So I just want to kind of eliminate a few of the things. Are you going to shoot the driver? Okay, now let's think about this a second. He's now moving. She's still screaming, not letting go of the purse. The car is kind of moved away from you, but you still have a field of fire on the vehicle. Are you going to start squeezing off rounds?
You're going to have to justify it later that you thought that woman was in immediate danger of death or great bodily harm.
Then
Anybody wanna go with that?
you have the risk of her being shot also. You start slinging rounds at a moving vehicle, you don't know where they're gonna go. She's on the other side of that car, she's in the field of fire.
Yeah, you know, I didn't see anywhere in there, and I think we mentioned this off camera, no one actually checked on her well-being. They were more concerned with getting those people proned out on the ground. We're going to have to leave this on the table because we just don't have enough time to go through it. Speak to me on social media, Facebook, Twitter. I appreciate the fact that you've tuned in tonight. I'll see you again next week. Be safe, be trained, be alert.